Hello and welcome to A Different History, Jews, Holocaust, and Spanish Culture. We're so happy that you're joining us today, and we are very fortunate to have experts from Centropa joining us as well. We have Dr. Lauren Granite, the U.S. Education Director of Centropa, Maureen Carter, the former Holocaust Administrator from Palm Beach County School District, and currently the coordinator from Florida at Centropa. And we have Fernelise Henry, the instructional specialist in the Department of African American, Latino, Holocaust, and Gender Studies. I'm Kim Coombs, the Holocaust Studies Program Planner for the school district. We all know that in Florida, we have state statute 1003.42 that requires districts to incorporate lessons on the Holocaust as part of our public schools instruction. Of course, in Palm Beach County, we don't just meet the mandate, we exceed it. The mandate says that we teach the history of the Holocaust. That's 1933 to 1945. The systematic planned annihilation of European Jews and other groups by Nazi Germany, a watershed event in the history of humanity. To be taught in a manner that leads to an investigation of human behavior, an understanding of the ramifications of prejudice, racism, stereotyping, and an examination of what it means to be a responsible and respectful person, for the purposes of encouraging tolerance of diversity in a pluralistic society, and for nurturing and protecting democratic values and institutions. The Holocaust is to be taught across the curriculum, from the early lessons in the primary and intermediate grades through exploratory studies in the intermediate and middle school grades, with synthesizing projects by the conclusion of high school. Holocaust content is to be infused in ways that are age appropriate, interdisciplinary, and consistent with other required instruction. The establishment of Holocaust studies in Florida schools plays a huge role in the development of tolerant attitudes, cooperative and collaborative behaviors, informed, involved, and compassionate citizens, and other skills encouraging civility. There are many ways that we can meet this mandate. Centropa is a great resource for us to do that. Centropa brings history to life. Today, we're talking about Sephardic Jews. I'm an Ashkenazi Jew, meaning that my descendants are from France, Germany, and Eastern Europe. So what's a Sephardic Jew? Sephardic Jews are the Jews from Spain, Portugal, North Africa, and Middle East, and their descendants. The adjective Sephardic is derived from the Hebrew word Sephard, which refers to Spain. So why are we talking about Sephardic Jews? Well, we want to bridge the connection for our Hispanic Latino population and the history of the Holocaust. Let's talk about windows and mirrors. A mirror is a story that reflects your own culture and helps you build your identity. A window is a resource that offers you a view into someone else's experience. It's so important to understand that students cannot truly learn about themselves unless they learn about others as well. There's books and resources that are mirrors. When students can find themselves, their families, their communities reflected and valued, when students can read books or watch films where they see people like themselves who are valued in the world, they feel a sense of belonging. By learning about Sephardic Jews with the resources on Centropa, we're accomplishing both. Windows helps us understand and develop the wider world. The reason we're connecting this to the Holocaust is because not just the Ashkenazi Jews were affected by the Holocaust. By using the resources on Centropa, we're going to be able to learn about Sephardic Jews, and we're sending a message to our Hispanic Latino population that we see you and we value your history. So we have Dr. Lauren Granite, who directs Centropa's U.S. educational programs. Before joining Centropa, she spent more than a dozen years teaching Jewish history in college, Jewish day school, and congregational schools. In the school district, we have a strong partnership with Centropa. Centropa has been providing professional development about the Holocaust to our teachers for free for, I think it's about 10 years now. They also provide us access to free short films like we're going to talk about today, and lesson plans that are available on their website for you to use. They're even involved, they even allow our teachers to attend their annual summer academy in Europe. So today is the beginning of sharing some of their resources. We're going to have other opportunities throughout the year that we'll discuss later. So welcome, Lauren. Can you give us some background on Centropa's work on Sephardic Jews?
Sure. Thank you so much, Kim. And thank you for inviting Centropa into Palm Beach County School District's professional development. We're really thrilled to continue our work with you. And I think you're right, it has been about 10 years. Centropa is based in Vienna, Austria, and we interviewed elderly Jews from the year 2000 to about 2009 in 15 Central and Eastern European countries, also Greece and Turkey. And that included the Balkan area, the area of the former Yugoslavia, where a large majority of Sephardic Jews live. They also lived in Greece and Turkey. And what made our interviews different from most oral history projects is we did not use videotape. And we said to our interviewees, please tell us your entire life story as you show us your old family photographs. And we digitize these beautiful old family photographs of wedding portraits and people on vacation and family and wedding and all sorts of family holiday celebrations, et cetera, people in the army. And so we have over 25,000 photographs of Jewish life from the end of the Austro-Hungarian Empire through the first decade of the 21st century. These are all on our website and free to download. Now I'm going to share my screen with you so I can show you. There you go. Okay, so I can show you, excuse me, can you see it now? Okay, good. So I can show you a little bit of where we have it here. You would research our interviews. We also translated about over 700 of the interviews that you can download and look at. I want to talk just very briefly. Today, we're going to show you a film called 1492 El Otro Camino. And Maureen Carter is going to introduce it in a few minutes, but I want to give you a little bit of a bigger picture of some of the resources we have, because we interviewed Sephardic Jews, as I said, in the former Yugoslavia and Greece. And we actually have, if you go to our websites here, we actually have a website called The Lost Sephardic World of Balkan Jewry. And here you can see Jewish stories from Split, Dubrovnik, Belgrade, Bitola, and Sarajevo. And each one of these boxes will take you to, for example, our stories in Macedonia, where we have a wonderful stories of people who were in the partisans during the Holocaust. And you can see we have interview excerpts here where you can read a little bit about what life was like for this particular group of friends and this particular couple, Benno Russo and Rosa Kamki. So I just wanted to show you that beyond the film we're going to show you today, we have other stories. We have stories of Jewish renewal in these areas in the late 20th century, resistance stories, etc. Portraits of 5 Balkan cities, resources that'll help you teach about the Sephardim and their journey. We have lots of contextual resources for you to use as you bring these stories to your students. Okay. The other thing I wanted to show you was where you can find our films. So if we go back to, we have here, if you go to our homepage website, you can scroll down and search by language. And if you want to see the films that we have that are narrated either in Spanish or Ladino, which is a language specific to Jews, specific to Sephardic Jews, consisting mostly of Spanish, but also Hebrew and some Arabic and other languages, influences thrown in. This is where you would go. So we have 4 films that you can use. This one has the subtitles in Spanish, and these are narrated either in Spanish or Ladino. So I wanted to just give you that larger context for El Otro Camino, which is the film we're going to show you now. So let me introduce to you Maureen Carter, who is Centropa's coordinator and former school district coordinator for Holocaust studies in West Palm Beach County. And so, Maureen, why don't you take it away? And I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that I can pull up the film once you want to show it. And we're going to show you the entire film today. Maureen?
Thank you, Lauren. Today, I am pleased to introduce you to the film El Otro Camino. I've used the film for many years and have seen the value of the film in the classroom. I've included music and art in lessons that align with the film. Many don't realize that in 1492, when Columbus was commissioned by the monarchy in Spain to voyage to the New World, the Jews of Spain were expelled. This is the story of the Spanish Jews who traveled to all parts of the world and what that road led to in our modern world. This migration is called the Other 1492. Thank you.
Sure. Okay, we're going to share the screen.
(1492) Un camino diferente. No hay muchos de nosotros que no conozcamos esta fecha, 1492. Fue el 3 de agosto de ese año cuando este hombre, Cristóbal Colón, salió en busca de una ruta comercial hacia el oriente. Sabemos que encontró algo más: el hemisferio occidental. Nuestra tarea no es hablar de lo malo y lo bueno que surgió con el descubrimiento que España llamó el Nuevo Mundo. Pero podemos decir que la razón por la cual hoy en día muchos de nosotros hablamos español se debe a este viaje. Pero hay algo que probablemente no saben. La misma semana en que Colón zarpó del puerto de Palos en España, alrededor de 200,000 españoles fueron expulsados del país simplemente por su religión. No eran católicos como la reina Isabel y el rey Fernando. Eran judíos que habían formado parte de la sociedad española durante 1000 años. Así que en la misma semana en la que Colón navegó hacia el oeste para traer la lengua que hablamos hoy en día, las familias judías de España huyeron hacia muchas direcciones: a Portugal, a Holanda y a muchos otros lugares. Pero la mayoría de estos españoles navegaron hacia el este, cruzando el Mediterráneo. ¿Y quién les dio la bienvenida a estos refugiados provenientes de la España católica intolerante? Los musulmanes. Este es un retrato del sultán turco otomano Beyazid II, quien gobernó un imperio que se extendió por todo el Mediterráneo, hasta la península balcánica. El sultán dio la bienvenida a los judíos y más de 150,000 poblaron estas tierras. Desde Estambul hasta Sarajevo, en ciudades como Tesalónica en Grecia, Bitola en la actual Macedonia, Sofía en Bulgaria, Belgrado en Serbia, el hermoso puerto de Dubrovnik en Croacia, y aquí en Sarajevo, en Bosnia y Herzegovina. Durante 450 años, desde 1492 hasta 1941, estos judíos vivieron entre musulmanes y cristianos, entre católicos y ortodoxos. estos judíos españoles siempre serán conocidos como los sefardíes. Y sefarad, en hebreo, significa España. Ellos mantuvieron la lengua que habían traído de España, ladino o judeo-español. Aquí escuchamos a un orador ladino diciendo: el lenguaje ladino es en su mayoría español, con algunas palabras hebreas y otras palabras mezcladas.
Al mismo tiempo, los sefaradim, tanto en Andalucía como después en el Imperio Otomán, vivían en un país, en una cultura, en una sociedad multifacetal, multiconfesional, multiétnica, muchísimo más parecida a la nuestra.
Pero básicamente, si eres español, puedes entender ladino, ¿cierto? Se vestían con la ropa tradicional que habían traído de su tierra natal. Y cantaban sobre su amor hacia la tierra que los expulsó, porque nunca perdieron el amor por ella. Estos judíos españoles practicaron los oficios en los cuales se habían especializado en España. Eran doctores, farmacéuticos, comerciantes, abarroteros, hojalateros y talabarteros. Estos judíos españoles vivieron en la península balcánica mientras surgían imperios que después se terminaron y permanecieron ahí conforme las fronteras cambiaron y los antiguos países volvieron a hacerse nuevos otra vez. Y un país completamente nuevo, Yugoslavia, surgió en 1918 después del final de la Primera Guerra Mundial. Estos judíos sefardíes sentían amor por su patria, pero también se sentían parte de las sociedades balcánicas. Pero había otros que no sentían lo mismo. Esta gente quería ver muertos a todos los judíos, a las mujeres, los niños y los ancianos. Todo empezó en abril de 1941. La Alemania nazi invadió Yugoslavia y la dividió. Los nazis pronto tomaron Grecia también. Más de 100,000 judíos de habla hispana en la península balcánica fueron fusilados, encerrados en camiones con cámaras de gas, asesinados en los campos de concentración croatas o enviados a los campos de exterminio nazis en la Polonia ocupada por Alemania. Durante la Segunda Guerra Mundial, Turquía permaneció neutral y aunque los impuestos eran muy altos en contra de los no musulmanes, estos judíos fueron perdonados. En Bulgaria, el gobierno deportó a 12,000 judíos de Macedonia y la región griega de Tracia, condenándolos así a la muerte. Pero protegió a 48,000 que vivían en Bulgaria. La Segunda Guerra Mundial terminó en 1945. ¿Y qué sucedió con el patrimonio de 450 años de los judíos sefardíes en la península balcánica? Era solo una pequeña sombra de lo que había sido. El comunismo se impuso sobre gran parte de estas tierras durante 40 años. Y luego, en 1992, la guerra comenzó otra vez. Los serbios de Bosnia les dijeron a los ciudadanos de Sarajevo lo siguiente: las personas de religiones distintas no pueden vivir juntas. Pero los judíos españoles de Sarajevo no lo aceptaron. Recordaron que sus familias fueron expulsadas de su tierra natal en 1492 y que luego el odio étnico causó la muerte de la mayoría de ellos en 1941 y 1942. Pero ahora, en 1992, en el aniversario 500 de su expulsión de España, ellos dijeron: nosotros tomamos un camino diferente. Y no es el camino del odio. Ayudaron a la ciudad entera creando una organización no sectaria de ayuda humanitaria y trabajaron en la sinagoga junto a los musulmanes y serbios ortodoxos y los croatas católicos. Después de todo, esa es la razón de las democracias: vivir juntos, ayudar a los demás y siempre decir no a los prejuicios. Esta historia española es la que nos pertenece a todos nosotros. Es una lección que nació hace 500 años y que tenemos que seguir aprendiendo hasta hoy día.
Wow, we hope you enjoyed that film. That last section, by the way, of the women singing, we have a whole film of them singing Ladino songs. It's called the Ladino Ladies Club. Maureen, did you want to say something about that film? Oh, you're on mute.
No, I think it's just a wonderful resource to use in our classrooms. And I think students will see themselves in this film, and we can get valuable knowledge from that. So thank you.
So what I want to say about this film, El Otro Camino, it really is the foundational film. That's why we chose to show it, right? If you're going to tell Sephardic Jewish stories, and we hope you use our stories to teach your students, because that's where your students will connect to this history through personal stories, then this is the background history. And teachers use it for that. It's 11 minutes long. You can use it in lots of contexts. So teachers usually use El Otro Camino to teach not only some of the basic topics that you would teach in the Holocaust, like righteous Gentiles, like people who saved Jews, partisans, people who survived, the experience of gas vans and deportations, of course, and also of Jewish life beforehand, the sort of unique life of Sephardic Jews in all of these countries that were mentioned. Countries that aren't often taught in the US, by the way, right? These are experiences and places not often taught. And so we think this really brings a really wonderful way to not only introduce your students to new aspects of what happened during the Holocaust, but also engage your students of Latino or Hispanic background. The other thing is that teachers use these films to connect to their own heritage. So teachers have used this film to have students do their own family history films. This is a Florida teacher who did this. Many of his students came from Latin America, and he used some of Centropa's story film, personal story films, which you haven't seen here, as models. But this was a way to kind of give them some of the background of Sephardic Jews and another group of Spanish-speaking Jews. And another group of teachers in Houston, in a very large high school, with a very diverse population, but of course a very large Hispanic Latino population. They used this film as the core of their Hispanic Heritage Month projects. And they had projects for students 9th through 12th grade. And students did all sorts of projects using Centropa's personal story films, which I'm going to talk about in a second, as well as researching their own diversity and doing projects on their own background and heritage. So I'm just trying to give you some ideas of how teachers have used these films, this film in their classes. Also, teachers have used this as a timeline exercise, having students watch the film once or twice, giving them a timeline outline and identifying the most important turning points in Sephardic Jewish history in this period, and then discussing it and moving on to do projects. Of course, you can use it for straight up history topics such as migration, the Ottoman Empire, all sorts of Holocaust specific dates and names. We've had teachers use this to do a classic jigsaw, where basically they'll watch this film, and then one group of students will watch this film, another group will watch one of the Sephardic stories we have, another group will watch another Sephardic story that we have, and then maybe another group will do some research on the bigger picture background or the specific background of the time they're looking at. And then the students will teach each other what they've learned. And then of course, as research projects, one teacher in Hungary actually had older students. They had the film, they sort of divided the film, and the younger students watched the first half and the older students watched the second half. And then they researched, the younger students researched Jewish life in the Middle Ages, Sephardic Jewish life in the Middle Ages, the bigger sort of historical context. And the older students did the modern world, including the Holocaust, and they taught each other about those different periods. So there's a lot of flexibility with how people use Centropa resources, and this is no exception. One of the things we're going to do is you will find on the same website where you found this recording, we will have a PDF of summaries and links to the different stories that we have, the personal stories that we have, the Sephardic stories. For example, there's a story of the teenagers in Macedonia who became partisans at a very young age. And one of them even became a general in Tito's army at age 24. We have the wonderful story of the Khalif sisters, two young girls who were saved by a Catholic priest. They were hidden by a Catholic priest. They survived, and one of them became one of Serbia's greatest opera singers. So these are real life stories. They're stories that your students will be able to relate to, because all of our little films about someone's personal stories start when they're a child and they go through their entire lives. And the films are no longer than 30 minutes, and all the films I'm recommending are probably 18 minutes long. So they're perfect for classroom use. I just want to end this little piece here by giving you a quote from Wendy Warren and Katuska Serino from Houston. They're the ones that did that big project. They wrote an article about using this film specifically in the Holocaust Education Journal, PRISM. And we will also put the PDF of that edition of PRISM up on this website where you found this recording. But in that article, they talked about the importance of using this film and what it meant to their Spanish-speaking students. They write, "We found that 1492 El Otro Camino engaged our students on several levels. Our Hispanic students immediately connected to the story of Sephardic Jews because the film was narrated in their mother tongue. Particularly for those who struggle with English, this was a powerful way to learn history and connect with the materials. Many shared what they learned with their families and returned to class with questions from their family members. By telling the story of these Jews in Spanish and explaining and including examples of Ladino, a combination of Spanish and Hebrew, teachers provide culturally compatible materials for Hispanic students. Emotionally, students not only connect to the content, but also to the teacher who addresses the cultural gap just by using this film. On a cognitive level, of course, students understand the content better in their native language, an aspect especially beneficial to English language learners who may feel intimidated by the unfamiliar content and their limited English skills. Creating a safe environment for otherwise underserved students is one of the most valuable assets this film brings to teachers who want to engage these young people in Holocaust studies. So having said that, I'm going to now turn the session back over to Kim.
Thank you so much, Lauren. Thank you for sharing that film with us today and all these great resources on Centropa. They're so relevant and accessible and important for our teachers to use with our students when teaching the Holocaust. I want to bring on Fernelise Henry. We're so happy that she joined us today. Fern's a specialist in secondary Latino studies. As we know, Sephardic Jews are part of our culture. And Fern, can you tell us a little bit about your family's history and what you recently learned about your family?
Yes, thank you, Kim. I'd be happy to share with you. So I was born in Nicaragua, and both of my parents were born in Nicaragua as well. And recently my mother did one of those DNA kits that you send away, and she ran over to me, to my house actually, and says, Fern, you'll never guess what's in my heritage. And she found out that on her father's side that she has Jewish heritage. And so we started having a discussion about intersectionality and how interesting is it that a little girl from Nicaragua living on the East Coast has Jewish heritage. And as we went along, we did research and found out that that Jewish heritage actually comes via Portugal. And then I made just now that connection, El Otro Camino, that some of the Spanish Jews went into Portugal. So then now the story all ties in together. And so here you have almost 500 years later, an Afro-Latina sitting in the district office that has a personal connection to the story. So my hope is that in using these materials, that we'll all find this intersectionality. And more importantly, we can make that personal connection to our students and to the people that we work with on a daily basis. Thank you.
Thank you, Fern. That's amazing. And I think there are a lot of people that will agree with that sentiment for sure. I know, Lauren, we want to just share with the folks that are viewing this today that this is just the beginning of a conversation. Centropa has a lot of pieces in Palm Beach County. For example, there's the Milton Wolf Project. Did you want to talk a little bit about that?
I'm muted. Okay, thank you so much. I do, and I'm going to share my screen again. First of all, I guess the other thing I want to say is, you know, you're seeing this in a recording, and we have, in a normal presentation, I would take you through the website and show you how to research and find the specific Sephardic stories that you want. And we're hoping to do that in the beginning of next year, the 2021-2022 school year. And Kim will tell you a little bit about that more later. So I do apologize for not giving you a little bit more information about how to find the stories. But you can always contact me at granite@centropa.org. And again, that will be in the PDF that should be appearing on the same website where you got this recording. So I am now going to share with you two upcoming resources for you and also your students. Give me 1 second. Yes. Okay, so I hope you can see this. Can someone give me a thumbs up? You can see the wolf. Okay. So this is the, we have a student competition every year. It's a civics competition, and we've extended the deadline because it's been a crazy year. And we know some people are maybe teaching summer school classes that might have a little bit of a looser structure because of this crazy year. And also we know students have had a hard year. So we've just extended the deadline to August 2nd. And I'm gonna quickly tell you what this project is. So here you see Milton Wolfe, and you saw in the film that this woman, Zainab Hardaga. Now, Zainab Hardaga was the first Muslim to receive a Righteous Gentile Award for saving her Jewish neighbor during the Holocaust. And that you saw her in the film holding up her certificate from the Yad Vashem, which is Israel's Holocaust Museum. Well, during the siege of Sarajevo in the early 1990s, Zainab Hardaga was in Sarajevo, that's where she lived, that's where she saved her Jewish neighbor, with her daughter, son-in-law, and granddaughter. And I think her daughter and son-in-law were actually kind of ill. And although she got permission to go out on one of the caravans that was taking Sarajevo citizens out of Sarajevo to safety, she did not, her daughter and son-in-law did not get permission. And Milton Wolfe, who was then the head of an organization called the Joint Distribution Committee, made it possible for all of them to get out and go and live in Israel. And in Israel, she was met by Yitzhak Rabin. So this story of Milton Wolfe and what he did to help her, this woman who helped Jews, and also that story of the Jews working together with their neighbors, combined to sort of support us in, to give a wonderful real life example for students about what it means to be civically involved, help your neighbor, and really help your community. So the community project is pretty basic. We have 5 steps. And here you see last year's winners. Basically, students find a topic they're passionate about, find a community problem, what needs to be addressed in their community: homelessness, drug abuse, sexism, racism, anything that's relevant to their community. It can be their school community or their larger community. Research, why is this topic important? You know, you're gonna have to be able to talk to other people about why it's important. Find the organizations and individuals who are doing something about this problem. Create a presentation, a website, a Prezi, a PowerPoint, a video, and then present it to others. Now, this can be done all online on Zoom if we're still in COVID mode, or it can be, any of these things can be done in person, interviews with people, etc. And we've created a very easy to use step-by-step process so that every step has a page like this, and it breaks it down for students. What's the basic thing they need? What key question do they have to answer? Here's a blog that's going to give them some suggestions. They're not sure what their topic is. Here are some ways you can figure it out. Here are some examples of what people did before, and here's a checklist. And every single step along the way has these 4 steps. So anyone who's interested can go to the fact sheet here. You can see the deadline is Monday, August 2nd. And I want to say a couple more things about this. 1, students do not have to do this as part of an assignment. If you know a go-getter student, feel free to let them know, and they can submit it independently. I just need some confirmation from an adult that they did present it. There are cash prizes. 5 winning projects receive $400, 5 runner-up projects receive $250. If a school does submit a lot of projects, we have $500 to give to 3 separate schools, so that you can use that money, you and your students can designate it towards some of the community projects. And 1 teacher will receive a scholarship to join us at the Centropa Summer Academy in Europe. So that's that. And you can see the website is centropawolfprize.org. The second thing I want to share with you, and this will have some direct bearing on the Sephardic Jewish topic we talked about today, is every summer we bring about 80 teachers from 15 Central Europe, 15 countries to Central European cities. We haven't been able to do it this year, so we're doing it virtually, and we hope you'll register with us. This is the website here, csa2021centropa.org, but you can also contact me. But I really want to point out to you, we're going to have basically 4 topics of, how do I say this, 4 webinars with experts speaking. As you can see, the 3rd one here, the destruction of Sephardic Jewry in the Balkans during World War II, is directly related to the topic we're talking about today. And in addition, we're going to do a border jumping project, which we've just successfully concluded this year, where teachers are paired with teachers from other countries, and you create a project over between July 1st and July 21st. You work with this teacher and a mentor to create a project on one of the 4 history topics. And then next year you implement that project. We just had the concluding event this past Sunday for teachers, and we had amazing projects from Croatia and California and Croatia and North Carolina and Ukraine and North Macedonia. It was really wonderful. Teachers from Florida and Michigan and North Carolina. It was really, really wonderful. So we hope you'll join us for that. And if you have any questions, I'm really happy to answer any of them. Thank you for letting me share that information, Kim. Back to you.
Wow, Lauren, that is a lot of exciting events going on. The border jumping project, I feel like teachers will dive into that head first. Some exciting news, I know this is recorded, but tomorrow I'm participating in a Google Meet at one of our fantastic high schools where students will be presenting their Milton Wolf projects. And so they've asked some of us in the district office to sit in as the students present their civics project. And I mean, one of our larger goals in teaching history is to create students who are activists and doing something for the global community or society as a whole. So, I mean, that's a great project that we've been participating in this year, and I think many years prior. So we look forward to continuing that maybe in some of our summer programs, and definitely next year.
Great.
I'm excited about tomorrow. I'll be sure to let you know how fantastic those projects turn out. I want to thank all of you wonderful women for being here with us today for our Summer Institute. And we look forward to continuing this conversation on September 1st. Teachers, please keep an eye out for professional development emails that will allow us to expand on this conversation using the Centopa resources. And Lauren, Maureen, Fern, thank you so much. If anybody has anything else to add before we close out.
Thank you, Kim.
And thank you all. Have a wonderful summer.